G'day folks, Connor here again, and we're back with some more stories from Reddit. As always, if you enjoy these videos, be sure to hit like and subscribe, and also the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Alrighty, let's get right into it. Alright guys, we're on relationships. This one was written by user Fire Meaning, and it's titled, My Sister Has a Bridesmaid Gone Rogue. I will preface this by saying my parents gave my sister a choice. She gets a sum of money either to pay for her wedding or to get set up with a house. My sister wisely chose to have the house, so her wedding is going to be a rather small affair she is paying for solo. I've been doing as much as I can to help with keeping her costs down, which long story short was a lot. She asked me to be her maid of honor and our brother, one of the groomsmen. My sister has a bridesmaid who is a friend from college, Janet. I never cared for her, finding her rather rude and selfish, but it's my sister's wedding and I'm quite good at dealing with people. I ended up friending her on Facebook. The first issue between us came at a get-together my sister hosted. Janet made a pointed comment to her boyfriend in front of me, saying she was surprised at my sister's bridesmaids, that if she was getting married, she would be sure that her bridesmaids were thin, young and pretty. It was obviously directed at me, as Janet and the other two bridesmaids are both very thin and younger. Frankly, it didn't bother me as a dig. I'm comfortable with my appearance and age, and I'm a 22 BMI, so not unhealthy weight. It may have been due to the fact that I'm gay and don't go for traditionally pretty looks. The next issue though came with the bridal shower. I planned it with two cousins. Janet decided last minute to plan a vacation over this time and convinced another of the bridesmaid that it was really family only and that she wasn't welcome despite being invited. She also posted a link to a thing about the top stupidest games played at showers on Facebook. If I wasn't sure this was intended maliciously towards me, I was after the Bachelorette issue, which happened recently. Initially, I was told by another bridesmaid the party was going to be the 10th, and that it was going to take place at a certain restaurant or club. Now, this club is literally down the street from me, and I actually own a small portion of the business. I was excited, saying that I would make sure it was amazing. A few days later, Janet messages me and tells me that the party was actually planned for the 17th and that it would be taking place at another location and involved mall shopping and a male strip club. Now, I had posted that I would be out of town on business the 17th, and neither shopping nor a strip club appealed to me, so I said that it would be a shame I was going to have to miss it. The afternoon of the 10th, my sister posts on Facebook that she has just been kidnapped for her surprise bachelorette party. A bit later, one of the other bridesmaids sent me a message asking me what I could do to make the party taking place at my restaurant special. I questioned her, and she was under the impression that I had said I wasn't interested in attending the party. Obviously, Janet had actively lied to me to keep me out of the party. At this point, I could talk to my sister, but I didn't want to drum up any drama when she already was stressed out over wedding things, so I kept quiet. It is now 3 weeks out from the wedding. Today, my sister has sent me a whole series of messages Janet has sent her. Janet has questioned, made snarky comments, etc. over every aspect of my sister's wedding. From the choice of music, too cheesy, to the transportation, Janet wants a limo, to the order of things, and she wants the first dance later in the reception. I've told my sister to ignore her, that it is her wedding, and when Janet gets married she can make her own decisions. But my sister is second-guessing herself and freaking out that her low-scale wedding isn't good enough. My sister has a history of anxiety disorders, so this is not a good thing for her. A week ago, she was really happy about her choices. Now she's crying and breaking down. Right now, I don't know if I should tell my sister the way that Janet has been treating me. It might make her understand that this is Janet's problem, not hers, or it could cause more issues. I honestly want to give Janet a piece of my mind, but I think that could only make things worse for the wedding and for my sister. All I want is for my sister to have a good wedding. I don't know how to fix this issue so that happens. Oh man, someone at some point has got to put Janet in line. Like Opie mentions her sister has anxiety, and Janet seems to only be making it worse in my opinion. Let's go to the comments. At this rate, if someone doesn't call Janet on her crap, she's going to pull some kind of major drama bomb at the wedding itself. Yes, tell your sister that Janet's been using the exact same nonsense on you, and the only reason you haven't said anything is that you didn't want her exposed to it. Then tell her you'll do whatever she needs you to do to be supportive, from running interference or whatever nastiness Janet tries to pull, to kicking Janet out of the bridal party personally. But this woman is not worth a moment of second guessing her decisions over, let alone what she's doing to herself right now. Opie says, I seriously doubt my sister would kick her out of the wedding party at this point. They have a ton of mutual friends, and I can't see it going over well. Plus, my sister is very soft, and it would be totally outside her nature, unless Janet did something very over the top. If it was me, she would have been gone already. How are the other bridesmaids reacting to Janet? Do they seem aware of what's going on? Maybe all of you combined can strong-arm her into behaving. At the very least, you should probably make it clear that if anyone has questions about anything, particularly anything where it looks like someone might be getting left out of the loop on an activity or important conversation, they should come to you, so that Janet can't keep trying to divide and conquer. She replies, as far as I know, they aren't really aware of what's going on. The bridal shower and bachelorette party were both sort of framed as mistakes, so I doubt they know or notice I was purposefully snubbed. Frankly, I got the impression Janet wanted me to make a stink so that she could feed off the drama, so by quietly not saying anything, I took that power away from her. At the same time, I eliminated my sister's stress. At the time it seemed like a good choice, but it means now I have to explain for others to understand. You sound like a great big sister. You did a great job of helping her out without being overbearing. Because Janet is still going to be at the wedding, tell any vendors to watch out. For instance, make sure the caterer knows that the food is great regardless of what Janet says, or make sure that the photographer knows not to let her hog the pictures, and that the DJ knows that she is not making a toast, etc. You can do your best to make sure Janet doesn't ruin anything else. She replies, my brother and I are close in age, and my sister is the baby. We are all three very close, but growing up we were very overprotective of her. I'm trying to not be the aggressive, make-all-decisions sister, but still keep her safe. It seems like a fine line there. I'm definitely adding checking with all the vendors, with the exception of the DJ and the officiant. I think everything was booked through my connections, so I can do that without being out of line. Yeah, some good ideas. Okay, Opie updates the next day. Everyone's suggestion pushed me over the breaking point. I met with my sister today for breakfast. She was a crying mess, second-guessing everything about her wedding. I asked if this was because of Janet's comments. She said yes, and let me read all of Janet's texts and Facebook messages to her. Janet has been ripping my sister apart. I'm furious by this time, but my sister needs a big sister, not an avenging angel. I told my sister the stuff Janet has pulled on me. She was horrified and kept apologizing. Then she got angry. The next 2 hours were a bitch fest about stuff Janet did through college. I seriously don't understand why my sister is friends with this girl. She has been universally miserable to everyone. Finally, I ask point blank if she wants to kick Janet out of the wedding party. My sister says no, that she feels she needs to keep her promise and that it's too late to kick her out now. My sister didn't get the same vengeful a-hole gene that I did. So I ask her what she does want. After thinking, she says she wants Janet to just leave her alone until the wedding. Done. I can be a butch fairy godmother and make this wish come true. I take my sister's phone, send Janet a text saying that at this point all the wedding decisions are final, so there's no sense talking about them. Oh, and because my sister will be so busy between now and the wedding, all communication and messages should go through me. Then I blocked Janet's number. I sent the same message on Facebook and blocked Janet on Messenger, then unfollowed her feed. Finally, I sent a Facebook message and text through my account. Afterwards, my sister just brightened back up. We ended up having a fun afternoon at a Halloween attraction. I got one message from Janet saying she doesn't believe that my sister blocked her. There was also a passive-aggressive message on her Facebook, but at this point my sister would have to actively seek it out. Just before writing this, I called my mother and my brother, who was a groomsman. We are all livid, but respect my sister's decision to keep Janet in. However, we're going out of our way to make sure we pull family rank and make sure things are great for my sister. Generations of passive-aggressive people have led up to this. You don't F with my family. I'll take any suggestions on how to block Janet from making any other issues. And now another update, 3 weeks later. The wedding was Saturday, and I thought you would all like to hear how things worked out. Following everyone's suggestions from the first update, I contacted all the vendors, etc., and told them not to take any input from anyone not me or my sister, including the pastor, who my sister has admitted befriending and coming to for advice. He was surprisingly awesome, and I ended up telling him the whole story, and got upset about things as well. A few days later, I get a call from the DJ, who says that someone else called to question some stuff about the reception, namely the timing, which I knew was a sticking point for Janet. Later, talking to the venue, they said someone talked to them. In both instances, they gave the answer that all should be directed to me. Meanwhile, I've been watching Janet's Facebook and found rather passive-aggressive posts that seemed to be pointed towards my sister and I. I ignored them. My sister maintained no contact. A week before the wedding, I get a text from Janet asking, "What should I do with Christopher? We have 2 hours where I'll be busy with pictures. He will be alone." Now, I didn't know she had a child and didn't think my sister had arranged any childcare, so this seemed totally a pertinent question. Without thinking, I replied that I was sure there were some cousins who would be happy to babysit, and that it would be wise to pack a bag of stuff if he was too young to entertain himself for 2 hours. Then I messaged my sister. Christopher is Janet's boyfriend. It was an honest mistake, but kinda hilarious. Janet didn't message me back. Before the rehearsal, I made sure Janet had the full schedule for the weekend. I sent it through text, email, and Facebook message. She responded maybe twice on the group message I sent. The day before the rehearsal, I sent her several texts reminding her to be at the church at 5. Of course, she wasn't there. Everyone starts talking about it, and I guessed at this point word had gotten around that Janet was being a pain, and the general consensus was disgust and relief. The pastor and I talked, and he pulled my sister aside and said they would make plans if Janet just wasn't there. It wasn't really a big adjustment. One groomsman would instead escort in the groom's grandmother. We do a run-through. The pastor calls for us to do another quick run-through of walking and seating, and the doors open, and there is Janet. I think she thought she was making an entrance. Instead, everyone, grandparents and parents and bridal party, are all shooting her the dirtiest of looks. The pastor, to his credit, put on his best, dripping with disdain Professor Snape voice and said, "You must be Janet. We thought you weren't coming," and waved for her to get in line. She seemed cowed and stayed very quiet. Afterwards, she tried to rather loudly claim that she had no clue what time things were. This was quickly disproven thanks to the text I had saved. She is, at this point, just hanging all over my sister, sort of snivelling. We were meeting at a restaurant nearby for the rehearsal dinner. It was literally within walking distance, and most of us just wandered over. Somehow, Janet drove and managed to be late to the dinner, claiming to be lost. She ended up sitting by the groom's family. For the start of the dinner, she sat arms crossed like a petulant child. Then she started drinking, way too much. Thankfully, she was far enough away that my sister and her husband didn't really notice her antics. As we left, I think every person there reminded her to be at the hotel to get ready by 10, especially my brother. She kept nodding and ahhing. I sent a few texts and Facebook messages for good measure. Of course, the next day, no show. We had a hairdresser set up in the suite, and she did all our updos, then hung around for a while before packing up. This is about when Janet finally arrived. I think my sister by this point was so done with Janet's crap, she didn't even get upset. Now, to get this next part, you have to understand I have long hair that I always wear in a tight French braid, then curled into a bun. Most people never see my hair down. For the wedding, my sister wanted these Pinterest-discovered loose braided down hairstyles. When she had said braids though, Janet had complained that we would all look like D-words like me. It's a derogatory term for a lesbian, not sure if YouTube likes me saying it. So, I answer the door with a rather nice hairstyle down over my shoulders, makeup done professionally, dress on. Janet literally has her hair wet, no makeup, and her dress in a bag. When she found out the hairstylist and makeup person was gone, she flipped. I recommended that I could just braid my hair like I wear mine every day, and she just shot me dirty looks. Instead, Janet ended up having a half hour to basically dry her hair and pull it in a ponytail. The next little thing was totally passive-aggressive on my part. When my sister and I had our heart-to-heart, my sister admitted that Janet sold jewellery through some pyramid scheme. She had strong-armed my sister into buying a jewelry set, which she didn't terribly care for. I told her that I would take care of it. I went through a connection and ended up renting a vintage set of jewelry, pieces far nicer than anything I could afford. On the day of the wedding, they brought it to the hotel, and it brought my sister to tears. When Janet showed up at the hotel, there stood my sister, glittering in diamonds, instead of the plastic pieces she coaxed her into. I knew too that this entered a temptation for Janet's power play, so I also contacted a guy who works at a friend's nightclub as security. The guy is quite professional and looks like he could be a male model. I paid him to walk around, supposedly to be security for the necklace. Really though, he was there in case Janet pulled anything, and to keep my sister a bit more stress-free. Also, he ended up making my sister feel like a rock star, needing security. All that was left was for Janet to behave like a petulant child, which she did in spades, pouting and making photos difficult. I asked the photographer to place her end of the row in case my sister decides to have her edited out. That's my sister's choice, but it's prepared if she so chooses. My security let me know Janet left right after dinner at the reception. None of us noticed. My sister lifted the blocks for Janet online on the flight for her honeymoon. She hasn't made any contact since, or made any acknowledgement of the wedding or honeymoon pictures. When my sister gets back, I'll talk to her about their friendship more. Thank you everyone for your excellent suggestions and thoughts. They helped me to make my decisions, and everything seems to have worked out. Alrighty guys, and that's the end of that story. Yeah, great ending for everyone there, except Janet of course, but she didn't deserve one. Makes you wonder what her end game was exactly. Like, what's going through the heads of people like this? Yeah, I'm just going to sabotage my friend's wedding because, I don't know, jealousy? Maybe some bizarre power trip? I don't get it. Let's read some final comments. All of this nonsense would have been totally avoided if the sister had just girded her ovaries and kicked her out before the wedding. I'd live for reading wedding drama, but God forbid if I have to experience it. I'd cut Janet. I'm sorry, but this is not a case of my sister is just too nice and spineless to shut Janet down. When you've reached the point that you are not only maintaining a friendship with someone who uses gay slurs, but also including her in your wedding party, where she is now directing those slurs at your gay sister, then you are not a nice person. Obligatory damn it, Janet? I'm just saying, considering all of what went on and what Janet behaved like, I would have been thrilled to be away from her for 2 hours with a colouring book and a sack lunch. I would have been a good boy with my juice box, listened to the cousin, and taken a nap to boot. I don't know if this is cultural difference or whatever, but if this was the small version of the wedding, I wonder what the big version would have been. When I got married, we didn't have too much money, so we made a small but fine wedding. I must say that we both weren't in any church and not religious either, so there was no church or pastor etc. involved. But also no bridesmaid, no maid of honour, no groomsman, no professional photographer, no stylist, no rehearsal dinner, in fact no ordered dinner at all. We asked a few of our friends who we knew could cook to give their best, and organised a buffet around that where everyone brought a bit. We had no fixed seating and no band, just the DJ. The point is, it was beautiful to me, not despite all these things missing, but because there wasn't so much fuss to deal with. If we had spent weeks of planning this and that and everything, we would have probably been exhausted by the time of the wedding. This way, there wasn't even a chance to pull such crap like Janet did here. It was a nice party with our friends and family, and that is what counts. I admit I hate show-off weddings, and I hope that if our children ever get married, they don't do one. All of that optional stress just to avoid confrontation. The sister could have kicked Janet out via text and immediately blocked her. Oh well, she chose what she wanted. Maybe she should have put a spine on her registry. This was genuinely so stupid, so much wasted energy on trying to make someone look bad on sister's wedding day instead of just kicking this girl out from the beginning. I don't understand how OP didn't communicate early on when this girl was causing problems, and I especially don't understand the need to let this girl attend. At what point do we call this level of passiveness just a contribution to the problem? I know the tone of this post was victorious, but it's wild that they had to go through all of this just because the sister was too much of a wimp to say no. Yeah, that seems to be the general consensus in the comments. I guess some people are just too nice for their own good. But yeah, here's hoping that they cut Janet out of their lives. No one deserves that sort of toxicity from their friends. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Anyway, that's it for that story, and that's it from me today. Hope you enjoyed those ones. Thanks for making it to the end, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a good day. Cheers.